as well. So I just wanted to kind of continue off the great ideas that were just provided, and talk about some of the strategies that my family and some friends of children with disabilities and some of the resources that we've found and learned from our developmental pediatrician that have helped us. Um, I will say, before I even get started, is just that um, you got to kind of go in each summer with an open mind. What worked last summer might not work this summer. And you just, the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better. I think, at least in our family, that's the most we've been successful, being able to kind of pivot and do something different if our original plan isn't working out. So, next slide. Okay, so summer can be challenging. I know growing up, summer was my favorite thing. I loved not having structure and routine. And then I had kids, and I was like, oh no, we all need structure and routine now. It's a little bit different. Um, so, really, I think the other problem too is, most parents are working right now, and there's really a limited availability of summer camp options that are accessible to children with disabilities. So you really have to rely on being creative to kind of make the summer work for you and your family. And then I think the other thing is, we talk about going to amusement parks and the beach and doing all of this fun stuff. But normally, when we want to do fun activities and we want to go to 4th of July parades or Hershey Park, they're crowded, right? So, how are we going to navigate those crowds and still access these activities that we want to with our family? Next slide. Okay, so just some tips on how we can possibly prepare. If your child is going to camp, especially if it's a new camp, but even if it's something reoccurring, something my family likes to do is tour that camp, right? We want to make sure we know where is our bunk this year, maybe walk through our activity schedule for that first day. Like, hey, we're going to get off the bus, we're going to go to this tent, and then we're going to move around and navigate through what a day might possibly look like, just to kind of ease those nerves and anxiety prior to starting something new. Same can apply for extended school year. I have found in my experience that a lot of the extended school year teachers are different than my child is used to seeing during the school year. So they don't necessarily know his quirks and what works for him and the supports that he needs. So one thing I've liked to do, and I do this with the teachers as well, is provide a one-page 101. I put a picture of my child, his name, his age, his siblings, some of the things that he likes and motivates him, and then also some of the things he might have some challenges with, just to kind of give them an idea and just open that conversation around my child, so they can get to know them prior to starting extended school year. Same can apply to camp as well. If you have an aide or a resource at the camp that you can kind of send this over to ahead of time, just so they can kind of make that connection and ease those nerves as you're starting something new. And then for days off, or if you're not going to do summer camp, or kind of like our previous person, don't qualify for extended school year, just in general, like creating that summer schedule. I love the idea of the weekly kind of themes. I think that provides you that structure, but also takes the rigidity out of it a bit. So something like that is wonderful as well. But just anywhere you can build routine in your day. One thing we have struggled with in my house in the past is the anticipation around a fun event. So we're going to go to a water park on July 16th. So if we don't know, if my son doesn't know when that is going to actually occur, we kind of tend to spiral on it a little bit and can't get past it. So one thing I like to do is kind of give him a drawn out whiteboard calendar or a paper calendar that says, like, hey, this is the summer, and these highlight these activities that we want to participate in. And then he can be an active part in that and crossing off the day. Hey, it's 20 days away. Oh, look, now we're at 17 days away. He's an active part on where we're at in relation to that highly anticipated event. The other thing is just a visual schedule for the day, whether that be written pictures or written out words, but just some structure. Hey, we're going to get up, we're going to get breakfast, we're going to go for a walk, we're going to check out the park, we're going to have story time at the library, then we have speech, we're going to go to the pool, just so they have some idea of what the day might look like. And consider your child's interest when you're building kind of activities around for the summer as well, right? So I know I've been guilty in the past of scheduling something that I like to do, and my family goes along with me, and they might not be happy. And that thing that I really like to do is not as enjoyable as I once thought it was. So my sons are really into trains. We always make it a point to do some sort of train ride in the summer, whether that be going up to Lancaster, train down the shore, taking the subway, all different ways to kind of get that preferred activity into our summer schedule. And then I think the other thing when we talk about like potential skill regression, et cetera, is just finding little ways to work on those sorry, my dog's barking downstairs, to work on those like therapy, speech therapy, maybe PT skills, integrate them in your day in a way that wouldn't be painful for you or your child. And I say this, but I also know that the idea and the execution are very different. So I think at the end of all this, you can create the schedule, you can create these routines, but I think you also have to give yourself grace in that sometimes that schedule is going to change. Sometimes you're not going to get to reinforce math over the summer, and that's okay too, right? You come up with a plan and you kind of adjust that plan as the summer goes on. Next slide. Okay, summer survival kit. So one thing that we like to do is put together a bag of just a survival kit in our trunk of our car just to have on board, right? So I find that if we go for a walk in the park, you never know if we're going to find water and we're going to jump and splash in it, and all of a sudden we're going to be muddy, and then we have another thing on the activity, or sensory wise, my son is like, I need to get out of these clothes immediately. So I usually pack a change of clothes or a bathing suit as well in there, some fidgets, headphones, say we're out and impromptu, we want to go out to dinner, I want to have those headphones for him as in case he needs those, a favorite book or toy, some sensory toys as well. One thing my son struggles with as well is getting really overheated and hot. So I like to have some cooling towels and a fan in our car readily available if he ever needs to access them. And just to have that ready to go, because I find you only need it when you don't have it with you. So that's just something that we like to do to kind of help ease that anxiety. It's great when we're going to be out for the day, or if we're going down the shore, or just kind of navigating the community. Maybe we'll get ice cream and someone spills something on themselves, just to kind of have these things available to make it a little bit of a less stressful time. Next slide. Okay, so ideas for managing day to day. We talked about in the example, the person, do they have autonomy to make their own decisions? And I think that's so important, right? You want to make sure that they're providing some sort of input to what they want to do each day. Obviously, they're not going to make the whole schedule for every single day and dictate everything, but just to kind of know, like, hey, my mom and dad, or my parents, my grandparents, they're listening to me, and they understand what I want to do and get out of this day as well. So get their input. I think that's really important. And siblings' inputs as well, right? So it has to work for the family. It can't just work for one person. know what time of day works best for your family for venturing out. Some families are morning people. They do better in the morning. They do great in the morning. They get out, they go to the park, they might go to breakfast, or they go to the beach early, and then midday kind of getting some rest in. And then the opposite also. Some people are successful when they start later in the day. So just work out what's best for your family and kind of use those tools to manage your day to day. Another thing is looking to social media for sensory days that are offered at different venues in or around your community. I found post-COVID, there seems to, over the last year, a lot of those days are coming back again. I know there's a local park to our house that just started monthly days, and it really is such a wonderful event. Normally, they are low capacity. Say it's an amusement park of some sort. The music is lower, lighting is lower, the AMC movie theaters is also a great, have a sensory movies that they offer a couple times during the month as well. So looking for those sensory days in your community. Keep in mind water safety. Look to join a local pool or lake just to kind of get out, beat the heat. Another thing is parks, right? So a lot of parks, look for them in and around the community. I know when we were younger, I knew every park in our county that had a fence because my son was an eloper. So we would go to the park, we would have fun, but we needed to know that there was a fence there and that he was going to be safe. But summer is a great time to kind of venture out and find these new parks that you might not have discovered. Another thing that I found really important is local support groups. You want to find your village. So it's so easy to get caught up in social media. Summer looks magical from pictures from people. Most families, though, are struggling in the same way that you are. It just doesn't maybe come across in pictures and videos. But really, to have people that understand you and your child, like that village is so important. Someone that you can like vent to and also team up to go on to these do these sensory events with, and just kind of, again, importance of a village. And then you want to schedule some downtime throughout your day. Every minute doesn't have to be an activity. And so, again, the importance of just like being home, being around comfort items can really help reset your child as well. And then lastly, the other thing is like keeping it simple. Sometimes a picnic in a yard, building a fort, running through a sprinkler, they can be just as memorial as a trip to an amusement park in the beginning of the summer. I think sometimes as parents, we tend to overthink a little bit about what our children need. So just kind of thinking of those like little things that we can do at home to implement throughout the day. Next slide. Okay, managing vacations. Again, summer is a huge time where people travel, but a lot of places are crowded and it can seem overwhelming, even the planning of it. One thing we found successful was just calling ahead. We found that many hotels, amusement parks, airlines do offer disability accommodations. If I'm going to fly, I go up to the gate agent and let them know, hey, my son has autism. Can he do early boarding? And they are always willing to accommodate that. Another thing is amusement parks usually do have some sort of disability access pass. I think they're not very well advertised necessarily all the time. So sometimes it really does make a difference just to make a call and ask, or go on their website and kind of look in the FAQs to see if something like that exists. Talking to your child too and prior to traveling about the trip and what those expectations will be. Again, really ease their anxiety, solicit their input. If we're going to the shore for a week, what is one activity that you'd really like to do while we're away? Understanding what that is and trying to implement that in your trip. This is another big one that's come up for us, and I think with time I've gotten better at it. But traveling with others, you really want to communicate your child's needs ahead of time, right? So often in those early days, I was like, oh, well, we're scheduled to do X, Y, and Z with our friends. We need to be able to stick with them and and do everything. But sometimes our participation might look different, and that's okay. And just kind of give people a heads up ahead of time. So my son does better at the beach if we go after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So if we're meeting friends of the shore, now I'll say, hey, I know you guys are meeting at 10, just a heads up, we'll be there at 2 o'clock. We come down after lunch and we'll stay as long as we can, or if they're going, like to somewhere where I know it's going to be loud, that might be something where we divide and conquer. Half of us sit it out and the other two in my family go. And then I think through all these events, you want to have visual schedules. You want to have those sensory supports, favorite snacks, and comforting items on hand to assist your child. And then again, if something doesn't work, don't force it. You can always have a contingency plan. Like I said before, you want to divide and conquer and add breaks into the day to rest and recharge. Next slide. Okay, here are some resources. So there are a ton of resources in your community. We have sensory-friendly days and events. There is an organization in South Jersey called Heart of Surfing, and I know there's other organizations similar that exist, and they plan events, opportunities for children with disabilities to learn to surf, and also do other events in the community. There's also, like I talked about before, amusement parks, concert venues that have these disability access passes. There's autism certified establishments. And then travel, there are some autism friendly clubs. The Autism Travel Club and Autism by the Sea are also resources. Next slide. And then I think this is the last one, but last thing just to keep in mind, you want to make time for yourself as a caregiver. We can only give as much as we have, right? So you want to be able to do things that you enjoy as well, to kind of bring your best self to your children and your family each day. And then other thing, challenges from last summer can turn into this summer's wins. So you don't let past experiences prevent you from trying something again, if it's something that's important to you and your family. This is one thing we saw a lot. We had an issue with my son. He hurt his knee a couple summers ago. Middle of July, he was in a brace for a month, and we had so many behaviors, and we'd gone to a developmental pediatrician, and we're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? I don't know what's going on. And she said something really important to me, and just want to pass that along, is that these behaviors are likely temporary. He had an idea in his mind, and and then his summer got a lot different really quickly as well, right? So some of these behaviors and regressions are just temporary and will likely resolve themselves when a few weeks into the school year. And that was definitely the case with my son as well. And lastly, enjoy your time with your child. Before you know it, we'll be back to September routines. So thank you. And I apologize for all the noise. My one son is having a play date downstairs and opening and closing the door 50 times.
Speaking of keeping kids busy, it wasn't noisy.
Thanks.
So we have a few minutes if folks have questions. I think some people were responding to questions, and there were additional suggestions of strategies of kind of ways to keep kids safe and contained, but still active. So that's been great. Folks, feel free to continue to add any questions or comments that you want to share with the group.